I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. I'm constitutional attorney Catherine Henry, and welcome to this week's episode of Restore Freedom Weekly. This is the show where you get to learn a little bit more about the Constitution each week and be able to gain some tools in your personal fight for freedom wherever you are. This week, again, we're going to focus on talking about the U.S. and Michigan and Florida constitutions. But I do want to remind you that I'm licensed to practice law in the state of Michigan and in federal courts, including the U.S. Supreme Court, but I am not a licensed attorney in Florida. I am just a normal person, just like you, who can read the Constitution, and I want to share with you information about it, just the same as I'm going to share information about the U.S. and Michigan constitutions this week. But what I'd like to do is, first of all, get started with the Bible quote for this week. It's in 3 John 1:4. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. Well, what is this video about? What is this show all about? Why am I doing weekly shows now? And why did I start doing videos in the first place? I was never one to like watching other people's videos online. I was never one to, of course, I have a hair stuck on my face. I was never one to do my own lives or anything like that. Before COVID started, not a single video. I'd never done any of that YouTube stuff or Facebook Lives, any of it. So why? Why did I start during COVID? Well, because I saw all the misinformation being put out there. I saw that people didn't have the tools to be able to fight back and say, whoa, government, this is not the right way to handle it. This is not what you're allowed to do. So what is the best way to combat government overreach? Well, it's to have the truth. It's to have that knowledge of what is acceptable. And so my mission is to share the truth with you, to share the Constitution, to share laws, to be able to give you the tools necessary so that you, as a part of we the people, can take our government and our lives back. Speaking of being part of we the people, some of you may have seen fairly recently, I want to say might have been Sunday, January 9th, that I was asked to be on the Let It Rip, Fox 2 Detroit Let It Rip show in the morning to debate a very established liberal attorney in the state of Michigan, David Fink, regarding the constitutionality of the vaccine mandates. The Supreme Court had just heard oral arguments 2 days prior and had not rendered their decisions yet, although they have now. And I was asked to go on the show to debate that topic in particular. The funny thing is, during that debate, by the way, YouTube has pulled that video down, but it is still available on our Rumble channel, Restore Freedom, as well as Restore Freedom with Catherine Henry Facebook page. And I believe there are links right on the front page of our website, which is restorefreedomkh.com. So the interesting thing about that video, and I would encourage you to look at that debate. It was maybe 13 and a half minutes long of a video, one of my shorter videos, so it shouldn't take too long to get through it. But the other attorney, besides not being able to cite a single piece of the Constitution at all, state or federal, that would allow these mandates to take place, one of his biggest arguments is that, well, it's about we the people, not about you, the person or the individual. Our rights are for us collectively. They're not individual liberties that you could do what you want and endanger society. That was his argument. Well, I have been promising you a full video on the the concept of individual liberties versus collective rights of society as a whole. And I could very well do like a 3-hour video on it. And if there's enough interest in the comments of this video, I will definitely consider doing one that's live where there's a lot of questions and whatnot. The way we're doing the live streaming right now, at least until my freedom fighting sidekick Lori is able to be with me in the same room doing these videos. I'm doing the tech stuff and getting things going, live streaming on different accounts at the same time, plus screen sharing to show you guys some stuff. So it's not really the easiest for me to be able to answer questions during these videos anyway. But if you, enough of you are interested in doing a more full discussion and a Q&A about this topic, please write that in the comments. We'll see that, and we will schedule a time and announce it, hopefully at least a day or two or more ahead of time, so you have a chance to participate in that if you'd like. So I figured the easiest way to start this topic of individual liberties versus just the collective rights that our society has in general is to just go to the words of the Constitution, right? Anytime you're wanting to know what is the government's job or role, or what specific protections do we have in the Constitution, it's best not to start by looking at a bunch of cases, because judges and justices get it wrong every single day, even the good ones. Okay, so let's look at the language itself, and then you can make up your mind for yourself if you agree with me or not. But hopefully the language will speak clearly enough to you as it does to me. So I want to look at the U.S. Constitution first. And if we look, let's just start with the First Amendment to the Constitution, where it is prohibiting the free exercise of religion. Well, if the government can't establish a religion for society as a whole, and it cannot prohibit the free exercise of religion, that is a right guaranteed to us as individuals, that we have our own individual liberties in being able to have our religious freedom of choice, not just as a society. That's literally the whole point of the first part of that amendment. We also have the right to free speech and the press, to assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances. Those are individual liberties. That's not a collective right that you have to enjoy in tandem with everyone else, in the sense that you can't exercise your right unless everybody's going to do it the same way or something like that. No, you have the right as a U.S. citizen to go to your government and petition them for a redress of grievances. Our whole government is designed to be owned and operated by we the people. And so that goes right to the heart of that. We have the individual right to do that as a person. You don't have to get a petition signed to say, oh, look, I have, at least 60% of my neighbors that agree with me, so we're going to go to our local township board meeting and ask them to change something. You can do that if you want, but if you as an individual want to go to your government officials, whether it's in the legislative, executive, judicial branches, whether it's just in a public forum, or if it's filing a lawsuit, whatever the case is, you have that individual liberty. You don't have to depend on other people to join in just to have your voice heard. I actually started, I guess you could say, a big part of my freedom fighting days was when I took on the city manager of the city of Belding, Michigan, where we were living. If you say where, never heard of that? Yeah, I hadn't heard of that until I met my husband either. But we lived there for most of our married life together. So we raised our kids there and whatnot. And not that long after my youngest daughter, Emma, was born, I was brought information from an individual who I'd known through the Chamber of Commerce and in the community. Very small community there, about 5,000 people. So everybody kind of knows everybody. And someone brought some information to me and a whole bunch of documents that were FOIA'd. And I started combing through and I was like, whoa, I can't believe our new city manager is doing all these things. This is awful. And it seemed like every single week there were new things, new ways that she was violating somebody's rights. It didn't take me very long before I felt compelled to go to these meetings and stand up for what was right. And I would discuss the situation in public comment time during our city council meetings. And I would not only lay out what the problem was and how the law was being violated by either all of city council or by the city manager or both, but I would lay out the course of corrective action that they could take, what it is that they should and must be doing in that sense. I didn't have to have a whole bunch of people there to support what I was saying. I ended up having a ton of people there supporting me in what I was saying because they were likewise concerned about things. But I, as an individual, stood up and said, no more. And I did it meeting after meeting after meeting, not missing a single meeting. And eventually that city manager decided she was going to create a list of people to go after to teach them a lesson about challenging her. And she was going to start with me. Well, she didn't get very far on our list. She's not city manager there anymore. My point being, it's an individual liberty that I have to go petition my government for a redress of grievances. In fact, I'm a licensed attorney. I ended up suing the city of Belding and the city manager when things got really ugly. And in the course of that, I actually had to argue in a United States federal district court about my my right to be able to petition my government for a redress of grievances, to be able to instruct my representatives, because the other attorney for that city manager, who was also representing the city as a whole, which is definitely a conflict of interest, but that's a story for another day. He was challenging me going to city council meetings and speaking to my representatives, saying I was no longer allowed to speak with any of the city council members because I was suing them. And there's a rule in most states, definitely in Michigan, that says if you're an attorney and you're in a case, you can't talk to the opposing attorney's clients without their permission or consent. I tried to point out to him, though, attorneys don't lose their individual liberties. And in fact, the rule says this doesn't apply if the person being sued is actually a government official or government agency. But lo and behold, that district court judge, that federal judge, decided that he didn't think that I maintained my individual liberty, my individual rights to petition my government for a redress of grievances, to instruct my representatives. And he literally said to me, are you telling me, Mrs. Henry, that I'm not allowed to tell you you have to get opposing counsel's permission before you speak to his clients? And I said, I'm absolutely telling you you don't have the right to do that. You cannot abridge my freedom in any way, shape, or form on this topic. And just because I'm a licensed attorney doesn't mean I've given up those liberties. So it's pretty sad that those kinds of things have been debated, not just with me. I mean, it's something that's been debated and questioned for a long time now, but that was way back in 2014, maybe 2015, was when that hearing was held, and transcripts are available if you're interested. I'm sure my husband has a link or knows about it somewhere. At any rate, so that's just one of the basic ones. Shoot, we're just on the First Amendment. I'm going to try to speed this up. Everybody knows your Second Amendment rights. That's not the right of your city or your county or your state to have weapons to protect you. No, it's the individual's right to keep and bear arms. And this is, I'm still on the U.S. Constitution, guys. I will be highlighting the, even more clear language of both the Michigan and Florida state constitutions on all of these subjects as well. The Fourth Amendment, we have the right to be secure in our persons, houses, papers, and effects. How is that a collective right? That makes no sense whatsoever. I, as an individual, have the right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures of my person, of my things, of my home. That's an individual liberty. That's an individual protection guaranteed to me. Likewise, in the Fifth Amendment, nor shall any person be subject to the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, to be forced to be a witness against himself, or are they allowed to have their life, liberty, or property deprived without due process of law. And private property shall not be taken for public use without just compensation. Again, those are individual liberties, private property rights, your individual rights against self-incrimination, or your due process rights. Those aren't guaranteed to the society as a whole, where you have to have the government speak on your behalf, or you have to have a petition with a whole bunch of people signing on. Those are individual liberties that you can exercise, and you are guaranteed by being a U.S. citizen. That's how that works. You don't have to wait for somebody to join in with you to stand up for your rights. Those are yours. God gave them to you, and the Constitution is protecting those rights. The Sixth Amendment, of course, we have a right to a speedy and public trial. Man, I'm going to have to do a video about that alone, considering that those of you who might still be interested in the Election Day fiasco from Allegan County, when I was beaten by the 3 sheriff's deputies and then arrested for representing a client who is lawfully exercising her First Amendment rights, among others. That trial, I just found out yesterday, has now been moved again. I think this is date number 6 for the trial. And we're talking about an November 3rd, 2020 issue date. When the whole issue happened. And now the judge has moved the trial without any reason why at all to sometime in June of this year, June. I believe the Facebook event has already been updated to reflect the exact date and time. I do hope that you'll consider still supporting me as this drags on, but we will do a video specifically on the right to speedy and public trial at some point soon. You also have a right to an impartial jury. You have the right to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with witnesses against you, to have a compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in your favor, and to have the assistance of counsel in your defense. Those are individual liberties guaranteed to every accused person, not to society as a whole. Your Seventh Amendment, you have the right for all suits in common law. You have that right to a jury trial, over $20, but these days, your filing fee is over $20. So, of course, we know the Eighth Amendment. Excessive bail shall not be required of an individual. When you have a person who's accused of a crime, bail is set for that person individually. Tons of case law says that, right? Tons of cases do. So clearly this is not bail that's paid by the community at large. It's your right to be free from excessive bail when you are accused of a crime. You are also free, guaranteed to be free from excessive fines or cruel and unusual punishments. That's not something that's guaranteed only to society. Well, you can't, electrocute, or you can't poison this whole city for doing something wrong. But you can go ahead and poison or torture an individual. Sure, you just got to single them out first. What sense does that make? David Fink, are you listening to what you said on Fox 2 Detroit about collective rights versus individual liberties? It's just stupid. It doesn't even make sense. But let's continue. The Ninth Amendment, we have our rights guaranteed to us that we're retaining. We, the people, are retaining our rights. Or, again, those powers that we did not give to the federal government or to the states are reserved to us, the people. Of course, the 14th Amendment, our rights, our privileges and immunities as U.S. citizens cannot be abridged. It's not as a society as a whole. No, our individual rights as citizens cannot be abridged. And of course, again, the due process clause in the 14th Amendment, but also every person within a state's jurisdiction is guaranteed equal protection of the laws. Now, not equal restriction of the laws. This isn't about how many mandates, how many restrictions upon freedom can we impose upon people all across the board? No, it's equal protection of the laws. Our laws are supposed to protect us from other people infringing upon us exercising our individual liberties. So my right to own my property here is supposed to be protected from some other random person coming and deciding to, put up a building in my backyard or dig up my ground and steal the dirt to build something on his property. The government is there to protect our liberties, to protect our individual liberties. And so equal protection of those liberties is guaranteed to all of us by the Constitution. We also, of course, in the 15th Amendment, there's the right of citizens to vote without discrimination based on race or color or previous condition of servitude. We have the 19th Amendment, the right of citizens to vote, again, based on no discrimination based on the voter's sex. The 26th Amendment, the right of citizens to vote. And then, so those are the only ones I want to highlight from the U.S. Constitution, but let's look at all those right now. Is it really an individual liberty that's being protected or a collective right of the people to exercise those rights? Honestly, I don't understand how you can extrapolate and say, no, these are not individual liberties. They're for we the people total altogether. No. The Constitution of the state of Michigan, we created it in the preamble to secure our blessings undiminished to ourselves and to our posterity. No person shall be denied equal protection of the laws in Article 1, Section 2. Every person, nor shall any person be denied enjoyment of his civil or political rights. That's Article 1, Section 2 of the Michigan State Constitution. Article 1, Section 3, the people have the right to peaceably assemble, consult for the common good, instruct their representatives, and petition the government for redress of grievances. Again, we already went through that with the U.S. Constitution. Same rights are guaranteed in our state constitution. Michigan Constitution, Article 1, Section 4, every person shall be at liberty to worship God according to the dictates of his own conscience. Every person. David Fink, have you even read the Michigan State Constitution? It couldn't be more clear. These are not collective rights as a whole. No, these are individual liberties. How about no person shall be compelled? The civil and political rights, privileges, and capacities of no person shall be diminished. Article 1, Section 5, every person may freely speak, write, express, and publish his views on all subjects. Every person. Sounds like an individual liberty to me. The right to bear arms. Every person has a right to keep and bear arms under the Michigan State Constitution. No bills of attainder, ex post facto, or laws impairing the obligation of contract can be enacted. Our right to have a contract is not our society's right to have contracts. No, it means the government is not allowed to create a law that will impair the obligation of me as a business owner to have, to be able to follow through on my contract with another business owner or with a customer or with employees. Those are individual rights that we have that are guaranteed to us. Article 1, Section 11 of the Michigan State Constitution. Every person shall be secure against unreasonable searches and seizures. Section 13, any suitor, meaning any person who's a party to a lawsuit, has the right to prosecute or defend his own lawsuit either in his own proper person or by an attorney. You have the right to represent yourself, to appear on your own behalf in court in the state of Michigan, or to have an attorney represent you. I mean, you have that right in every state, but that's clearly spelled out here. That's not a collective right. That's you as an individual. That is your individual liberty. The right to a jury trial. Section 14 of the Michigan State Constitution, Article 1. No person, this is section 15, no person shall be subject to double jeopardy, and all persons, not every society or all of society, but every person shall, before conviction, be bailable by sufficient sureties, meaning you have the right to post bail in an amount only high enough to secure your presence at future court dates. Section 16, you have a right against excessive bail, against excessive fines, cruel and unusual punishments, and that witnesses cannot be unreasonably detained. Section 17, Article 1, Section 17 of our Michigan State Constitution, no person shall be compelled to be a witness against himself in a criminal case, to be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. The right of all individuals, I'm going to slow this down, back it up for anybody who doesn't believe me yet, including attorney David Fink, who himself should clearly be disbarred for this gross level of ignorance and negligence, malfeasance when it comes to explaining the state of the Constitution to the public. It literally says, Article 1, Section 17 of the Michigan State Constitution, the right of all individuals, firms, corporations, and voluntary associations to fair and just treatment. Wait a minute, it doesn't sound collective to me, because it's not, it's individuals. No person shall be rendered incompetent to be a witness on his own account, Section 18 of the Michigan State Constitution. How about the title of Article 1, Section 20 of the Michigan State Constitution, rights of the accused in criminal prosecutions? Those are rights guaranteed to you if you are accused of a crime in the state of Michigan. Those are not rights just for the collective. No. In fact, David Fink, and anyone who doesn't get it yet, that these are individual liberties, you would clearly have no standing to sue, to bring a lawsuit to ensure that this particular liberty is guaranteed if you just brought it as a collective on the part of society. No, you would have to show standing, show that it's an individual interest that you are protecting by bringing a lawsuit or a claim in court about this right. Section 21, no person shall be imprisoned for a debt out of a contract or, except there's a couple of exceptions. Point being, no person. Of course, Article 1, Section 23 is talking about the unenumerated rights retained by the people. Section 24, rights of crime victims, not of society as a whole. In Article 2, Section 4, as recently amended, I believe in 2018, every citizen shall have the following rights. Every citizen and Michigan resident. That's an individual right. How about Article 8, Section 2 of the Michigan State Constitution? Every school district shall provide for the education of its pupils. That's a right. You have a right to an education. You, as an individual, or your child as an individual, has the right to a public education should you choose to accept it. I made the choice to shy away from that option quite a while ago now, hence my extensive collection of homeschooling materials. All right, so I'm going to jump to the Florida State Constitution to show you, again, these are just examples. If you don't live in Michigan or Florida, you live in California, or I'm so sorry if you do, Texas or Nebraska or Illinois or Minnesota, you name it, go to your state's constitution and see where you're finding some of these terms in case you had not known what the status of this is, in case you are starting to believe the narrative that's out there that these are not individual liberties, these are collective rights to be exercised by society as a whole. So the Florida State Constitution, in their preamble, being grateful to Almighty God for our constitutional liberty and to guarantee equal civil and political rights to all. Guarantee these rights to everyone. That's why the Constitution was made. How about Section 2, Article 1, Section 2 of the Florida State Constitution? Basic rights. All natural persons, female and male alike, are created equal before the law and have inalienable rights, among which are the right to enjoy and defend life and liberty, to pursue happiness, to be rewarded for industry, and to acquire, possess, and protect property. No person shall be deprived of any right because of race, religion, national origin, or physical disability. Those are individual liberties. Section 3, the government can't prohibit or penalize the free exercise of religion by a person. Section 4, every person may speak, write, and publish sentiments on all subjects. Section 5, you have the right to assemble, instruct your representatives, and petition for a redress of grievances. Section 6, the right of persons to work shall not be denied or abridged. The right of employees is also identified. The right of the people to keep and bear arms in defense of themselves is in Section 8 of the right to bear arms in the Florida State Constitution. Section 9, due process. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, or be twice put in jeopardy for the same offense, or be compelled in any criminal matter to be a witness against oneself. Section 10, no bill of attainder, ex post facto, or law bearing the obligation of contract, like we already talked about. Section 12, you have the right as an individual in Florida to be secure in your person, house, papers, and effects. It's an individual right. No person shall be tried for a capital crime without presentment to a grand jury. Section 16, rights of the accused and of victims. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall, upon demand, be informed of the nature and cause of the action, and shall be furnished a copy of the charges, shall have the right to have compulsory process for witnesses, to confront at trial adverse witnesses, to be heard in person, by counsel or both, and to have a speedy and public trial by impartial jury in the county where the crime was committed or alleged to be committed. Those are individual liberties guaranteed. Again, Florida State Constitution, Article 1, Section 17, excessive punishments, excessive fines, cruel and unusual punishments, attainder, forfeiture of estate, indefinite imprisonment, and unreasonable detention of witnesses are forbidden. Section 21, access to courts. The courts shall be open to every person for redress of any injury, and justice shall be administered without sale, denial, or delay. Wow, that didn't happen to us in our situation down here. Interesting. You have the right to trial by jury in Section 22, the right to privacy in Section 23. Every natural person has the right to be let alone and free from government intrusion into the person's life. In the Florida State Constitution, check it out. Access to public records and meetings. Every person has the right to inspect or copy is how that section starts. Hopefully this is making sense to you guys and giving you guys the information you need to be fully informed about whether we enjoy individual liberties guaranteed by our constitutions or just collective rights. Article 10, Section 25 is the patient's right to know about adverse medical incidents. Whoa. That seems to be a bit relevant these days, doesn't it? The patient's right to know about adverse medical incidents. Well, again, Article 10, Section 25 of the Florida State Constitution. That does not sound like a collective's right to know, but rather individual liberties. So hopefully you guys now understand that there is no such thing as it's just we the people as a collective, and you have all these rights, but you have to exercise them as a group. I don't even know how that logistically would play out. David Fink, you were wrong. You couldn't have been any farther from the truth. These are individual liberties guaranteed to us by these constitutions to secure our blessings of freedom undiminished to ourselves and our posterity. Every person is guaranteed these individual liberties and would not even have standing as a collective to try to sue for some sort of infringement of those liberties. With that being said, I do want to share with you the 3 links that I have, the 3 resources that I have for you. So bear with me. I am going to screen share here. All right. So today's resources links are, I believe I'm doing this in the order that I put them in. The first one is the schedule of oral arguments. In that schedule of oral arguments, the link is on the Michigan Supreme Court. I'm sure other states have a similar link as well if you live outside of Michigan, but maybe just get familiar with this Michigan link, even if you live outside of the state of Michigan, so you can see what kinds of things are there. And then you know what to look for in your own state. So you can see this goes down. You can click on any of the oral arguments. It shows you the time. It shows you the name of the case. There's a link to be able to click on that schedule, and you can see, for example, this there was a special session just last week on Wednesday. It was live via Zoom and live streamed also on YouTube. So you have it's also a hearing against the Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission that I just now noticed. So I should probably read that one when that comes out, that decision comes out, and share that information with you if that has not come out yet. The second one is the court opinions. So some people do well in hearing just that oral argument, which is the first one here. They're interested to hear what kinds of things are being said, what kinds of arguments are being made, because maybe you don't like reading any of the briefs or any of that. It's overwhelming. They're basically short and sweet. It's the most condensed version that they could come up with. Now, I will tell you that some attorneys are excellent brief writers, but they get to oral argument and they're terrible. They're not clear about their points, or they're too soft-spoken, or they're not very organized in their train of thought, or just too nervous, whatever the case may be. So please don't have one, if one attorney is arguing a particular topic that you feel strongly about or would like to know more about, and you feel like that attorney didn't quite educate you the way you wanted to be educated on the topic, don't give up. Please check back more for other cases that come up, and you can listen to it that way. Also, this link, the second link, the Michigan opinions link, will take you to the most recent opinions. You can see the last 3 terms. I'm going to click on the most recent one, 2021, 2022, and you will see that there are, yes. So you can see, for example, case 163823 Detroit News versus Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission that was published on 12/20. That is a case that I went over with you guys in a recent video, talking about, well, a variety of things there. Also talked about the case of the League of Women Voters versus the Secretary of State. And there's some other individual cases that might be of interest that I may share with you in another video. But anyway, when you want to look at the actual orders themselves, if you're just curious, what has the court been doing recently, you can see that these are the most recent ones. So please check that out here. And the third link is to court live streams. Now, it starts with the Michigan Supreme Court live streams, where you can see the in-person hearings, the ones that are done all via remote, such as when I was arguing against the governor's executive orders in 2020. That was all remote. Oral arguments were not held in the building at all. You could see there's an archive of the video proceedings. Michigan Court of Appeals, I don't know why this only has the archive of video proceedings and not any live streaming. Michigan Court of Claims, it's the trial court level. If you want to sue the state of Michigan, essentially, or the governor or whatever, it's in the Michigan Court of Claims. Those have live streams and archive video proceedings there. And then Michigan Trial Court. So this is where your district courts, probate courts, your circuit courts, if there's anything going on there, such as, the case up in Antrim County, or if there's the Iron Pig restaurant, smokehouse, that case, if that has any kind of links. In fact, let's just click on that here and see. I believe that might have been the 36th Circuit. But let me see here. Well, this is not the easiest. I don't remember the county that was, so I'm not able to check that out for you. I just remember the circuit number. At any rate, so you could check here. You can look by the particular judge's name. I don't remember that judge's name. But anyway, that is the third resource that I want to share with you. All right. So I also want to tie in our challenge to get involved. And this week, I actually put it right in the description of the video here. But my challenge to you is to pick an individual right, an individual liberty guaranteed in the state constitution, in your state constitution. Don't just think, oh, I know it's in there, or I've heard Catherine or somebody else talk about it. No, look at your state constitution. A lot of the state constitutions have a section that's just on, individual liberties. Let's see. The Florida Article 1 of the Florida State Constitution starts with the Declaration of Rights. Same thing for Article 1 of the Michigan State Constitution. But start where you have individual liberties listed. Kind of browse through those. But then when you see one that catches your eye, or you see one that just really seems to stand out to you, focus on that one. Read it, reread it, read it again and again and again. Read it out loud. Make sure you're reading all the words in all the right places, and that you can understand it. Once you've picked that, whether it's your right to bear arms or your right to free speech or whatever the case is, then go to the U.S. Constitution and see if you can find that. Search, you could pull up by Googling U.S. Constitution, or go to our website, restorefreedomkh.com. Under the resources tab, you'll see a PDF version of the U.S. Constitution, and you could do a Control F to search for whatever term it is relating to your particular individual liberty that you have selected, and see if you can find it in there. There's not always an analogous provision in the U.S. Constitution, but more often than not, there is. So find that, read it, reread it, read it again and again as well for the U.S. Constitution. And then, this is the big part, I want you to feel comfortable enough with those provisions, the U.S. and your state constitution provision on whatever individual liberty you have chosen, that you will share that with 5 people between now and the next time we do another episode. I want you to share that with 5 people. It could be your son, it could be your neighbor, it could be your boss, someone at church, or someone you just strike up conversation with in the grocery store. I want you to share that individual liberty with 5 people. Tell them all about it. And they might say, yeah, I know. I've heard about that. Tell them exactly, yeah, but did you know? So, for example, if we wanted to look at your right to bear arms, right? Everybody knows that you have the right to bear arms. But let's say in Florida, the state constitution, the right of the people to keep and bear arms in defense of themselves and of the lawful authority of the state shall not be infringed. Okay, well, you have the right to defend yourself. This isn't just defend society as a whole. Do you realize that language is in that particular section of the state constitution? That's something you might want to point out to somebody. But you might want to just point out whatever stuck out to you about how it's worded or what specifically is guaranteed. Share that with 5 people. 5 people. That's all I'm asking. And you might think, well, I don't know if I feel comfortable enough doing that. I believe in you. If you can read, you can do this. And if you can't read, reach out to somebody who does, or let us know, and we can try to help with whatever it is that you're, trying to do. But every single person can understand this. You have individual rights given to you by God. The government's job is to protect those liberties. These constitutions are ways that Our individual liberties are to be specifically protected, and ways that the government is going to be specifically restrained. And that's the sole purpose of these constitutions. So, all right, everyone, that would be our Bible verse of the week, talking about the joy it brings when truth is shared, when you are living in and speaking in the truth. Go out and speak that truth to those around you. Share those resources that I've just shared with you now, and check out that notion of, is it really individual liberties, or is it just collective rights that we exercise? Hopefully all of that, that main point has sunk in for everyone watching this. But if not, please do take a moment to reread those sections, or to re-listen to this. I kind of sped through it all because there's so many obvious places where it's talking about our individual liberties. I wanted to show you exactly how in depth that kind of a discussion really could be. All right, let me see real quick. Oh, sorry, I just happened to see -1 degrees in Hudsonville today. Wow. I'm going to say I don't miss the weather. I miss all of you in Michigan, miss my friends and family. I am excited, though, that my freedom fighting dad, Bruce Reed, is on his way down from Michigan to Florida to come and visit me, and then to go over and visit my sister. And of course, my stepmom, whose birthday is today. So if you happen to know my stepmom, please wish her a very happy birthday. And also remember, just thinking about, my mind got kind of caught up on the notion that, hey, it's February. And this is the month where we talk about love. And this is the episode where I focused at the beginning on our need to talk about the truth. Let's blend all that. Make sure you are speaking the truth in love. If you are trying to share some of this information with somebody and they're just not understanding it, or they are in outright denial, try your best to speak that truth in love. Try to set aside any of the name calling. Try to set aside any of the personal insults and leave it to the facts, because quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, the truth is on our side. We don't need the personal attacks or anything of that nature to win in this regard, to win on any of these points, because these are our individual liberties. This is our government of we the people. In fact, I'm sure you can't see it because my camera is a bit taller than it used to be, but we need to restore Michigan to a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, because this is about we the people. But let's do it in kindness, in love, as we speak the truth. So with that being said, hopefully you guys were able to learn a bit more about the Constitution today. And I don't see any urgent questions. It looks like Lori was awesome in answering quite a bit. I'm just scrolling really quick. If I'm skipping something that there hasn't been an answer to, I apologize. I'm just trying to look real quick, and I do not see any answers, any questions to answers that were, any questions that have not been answered by Lori or somebody else. So thank you all for tuning in today. I wish you all a very wonderful weekend, and keep fighting for freedom.